I think he's the one who is economical with the truth. I didn't use that as an example, but it's a good example of one of the roads that I've stalled for many years. That road was awarded in 2018. It was supposed to end in 2021. The Speaker, 2021 is not Kenya Kwanza administration. But Mr. Speaker, the good news is that the road is 91% done, and therefore the remaining balance is going to be addressed. Unlike many roads that I mentioned earlier, I used as example, which have only 3%, 5%, less than 30% of completion, at least Kibwezi Road is fairly done. What I was expecting from Senator Wambua is the question of compensation. I used that road earlier as an example of citizens who are responsible, who let go the space for us to construct the road awaiting compensation. And as I said, National Land Commission is working on the process so that we can be able to compensate and know exactly whom we compensate. As unfortunately, these procedures we put in our law make it, create inordinate delay in some of these issues. The Tala-Thika road, I think it was a proposal. It hadn't started. If you mean the road of what we call the Greater Eastern Bypass, the one from Tala all the way to Thika. Mr. Speaker, that road, we signed a memo with memorandum with some Chinese contractor as to working together to get resources to make sure that we create Greater Eastern Bypass, which comes from Tala all the way to Thika itself. On the question of Kangundo-Mwala Road, yes, it's been pending for long. I know you have asked me this before, and the MPs have asked me before. Again, because we have to award it as a new contract, we just need to be patient, a little bit patient, to make sure that we get the resources to be able to do so. Lastly, last is Senator Mundigi has asked the question of the airport. I'm sure you are with me. We sat together with you and all the counties. The Embu airstrip is not viable for an airport that can carry goods or fly cargo from Embu. You know that there's no land to extend. You have lived around all place. The topography does not allow the same. The good news is that Embu itself is closer to JKIA, and I think that is not biggest of our challenges. The biggest of our challenges is to make sure that we have either road or rail connectivity that can now bring the goods to rail. By the way, Senator Mundiki, just to mention the House, the world is moving away from using aeroplanes to carry cargo. And now we are, even for perishable goods, we are working on providing what's called cool logistics, so that cool containers are provided for transporting perishable goods, including flowers, by sea, which is now under customer preference in Europe. It is the in thing as one way of combating climate change. So the question should be focused on how do you evacuate the goods from last mile to the connectivity to either the railway or the airport without necessarily having to build an airport where you cannot be able to build an airport. The last thing is on the JKIA, I want to repeat this from Senator Tabitha, that the grand plans is to build a new terminal. And that is my focus. I am very, very clear in my mind. I'm very focused that in the next 3 years, we need to deliver brand new airport. That will be a signature project for this administration to turn around. We can't have built an airport that is older than myself in 1978. I want to be a partaker of President William Ruto's administration's grand plan to give us something new, fresh, that I am very confident and clear in my mind that by the year 2026, 2027, we should be singing of a new airport. That's why I worked very hard with our team and guided by the President to make sure that we resolve the case that was there in the Greenfield to create the space for us to attract the PPP contractor to do this job. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Honorable Senators, at this point, we will not take any, because of time, and the previous speaker had mentioned that the last question will go to the Chair of Transport. So at this point, since we have to complete with this session of questions, I will allow on this side Senator Mazzayo to ask a question, and then the Senator Chair Transport to finish with the last question. We don't have any time. I extended, Senators, I extended by another half hour, but the problem we are having, Senators, is that questions are taking too long to ask. Senators are taking too long to answer. So, Senator Mazayo. Yes, Senator Kavindo.
And the reason why he didn't answer, I know, he didn't hear it properly because he was communicating with people when I was asking about the Caltex Umoja Kangundo Road. This Kangundo Road, there is a lot of jam there, and people are getting stuck there up to midnight.
He will answer with the other questions. Senator Mazayo, very quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have one question for the CS. When is the Malindi Airport going to be expanded? That's the question.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Chair Transport, Cherargei, you cannot have a point of order on the chair. There is no point of order on the chair. A lot of people have been sitting here from 9. Senator Cherargei, I understand your frustration. Chair Transport, let him ask the question, then we'll come back to you. We will come back to you, Senator Cherargei. We'll come back to you. We'll come back. Senator
Mr. Speaker, I believe if I'm given the opportunity, then Senator Cherargei.
Approach the chair. Cherargei, approach the chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, did I hear the CS say that Embu is close to JKIA? I think that was... Anyway, Mr. Speaker, if you look at those people who ask questions, and as the chairman, Roads, Transportation and Housing, I have noted that almost every member of my committee asked a question. And that is to tell probably the department and my committee there is a little bit of disconnect. But, Mr. Speaker, the remedy for that, the committee understand that the CS is a busy person. So the committee made a resolution, Mr. Speaker, that before we invite the CS, we'll be inviting his government agencies, the KERA, the KURA, the KENHA. Yesterday we had NTSA, so that once we understand what they're doing, we'll be able now to be going to the CS himself. Mr. Speaker, it is my commitment as the Chairman, Roads and Transportation, before I ask my question, that I will follow up on everything that has been said here today, Mr. Speaker.
And Senator, please be very brief.
Yes,
Go straight to the
as the Chair,
question.
give me a few minutes. Everything that has been mentioned here today, the Kakamega airports, the roads in Kirinyaga, Tharaka-Nithi, roads in Kajiado, roads in Kiambu. The reason I don't have so many questions is because we meet with the CS more often. And Mr. Speaker, Jomo Kenyatta Airport, the El Nino issues, and Narok. My question now, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's about compensation. The people of Wangigi, the people of Getaru, the people of Kabete constituency, since 2018, they have not been compensated when they gave their land for the construction of the Western Bypass. We have been trespassing on people's land. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want the CS to tell us when they are going to be paid, and I also propose when they are paid, they should be paid in the current market rate, not the one that was evaluated in 2018. So, Waziri, you can respond to that. Mr. Speaker, I'm done. Or I can continue. Mr. Speaker,
Senator, please, you've already asked your question. Can we have the CS answer?
Well, Mr. Speaker, on the On the Kangundo Road, I understood, thank you, Senator Agnes. The Kangundo Road requires dualing. I understand what you meant. The congestion in Kangundo Road is making it impossible for those of you who operate from Machakos to come to work. Mr. Speaker, that discussion is ongoing on dualing that road. It requires significant resources, but we are now at the design stage. Hopefully that design will lead to the proper construction. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is that on the Malindi Airport, you know the question, leader, you know the question of the squatters that we are dealing with. That negotiation is ongoing to see how the squatters can be compensated before that can be sorted out.
Let the questions be answered first. Let the CS answer the question. Is in the process. Let the CS answer. One moment, yes. What is, you cannot raise point of order. Let him finish the question, then you can rise.
Mr. Speaker, on the question of Tala Oldonya Sabuku Road, it's an ongoing contract, Mr. Speaker, that connects Tala to Thika Road. It is 40% complete. This connects Majakos to the Karisa Road, and it was awarded in 2020 for a contract sum of 1.4.
Yes, one moment, please. Cherargei, at this point, I will have to find you out of order. And I'm not trying. This is not a funeral. Okay. Senator Cherargei, I've actually shown you the dashboard.
Why don't you give him?
So, Senator Cherargei, at this point, I will have to ask you to leave the house. Please leave the house. Please leave the house so that we can continue with the business. Senator Cherargei, we've heard you. Please leave the house. CS, my apology, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I left this house maintaining very high level of dignity, and I think that should be kept because we really trust and treasure you as a leadership, and we appreciate your work you're doing. Mr. Speaker, so I was answering, I know there is my colleague